What up? My name is Matt, and this is my podcast, Low and Slow, the business behind the kitchen. I'm talking to all the restaurateurs out there, the veterans, the newbies, the wannabes, the I'm gonna bees. I'm here for you. I'm talking everything front to back, A to Z in the restaurant industry. Nothing is off limits. Listen, I used to work in corporate America. I left over 10 years ago to pursue a hobby that turned into a passion, that turned into a business. I'm not trying to act like I'm all-knowing. I'm not trying to say that I'm an expert. What I do have is a lot of scars, bumps, and bruises that I got along the way from doing some really, really dumb things. Things that hopefully I can help you to avoid. Let's get after it.
All right, so today we're going to talk about first impressions. First impressions. What are first impressions? I wonder how many people out there have thought about the first impression that your business makes, your restaurant makes. How important it is as a business to shore up the gateways of first impressions, the entranceways, if you will, to your business. There are three of those. The first one these days, 2021, is the internet. So your website, maybe your Google presence, somebody Googles your restaurant or your business, the pictures that come up, that's a gateway to a first impression. What happens when someone calls your organization, somebody calls your business? What do they hear? Maybe your business exists in a neighborhood that's, in a shopping center or strip mall or something, just, good old fashioned walking by. What's the atmosphere in the store? What is someone walking into when they walk, into your store? What's their first impression? So we're going to talk about our business and our philosophy on our first impression and just shoring up those gates and what does that look like. And then I'm interested to hear from anybody out there who has, other ways to shore up their first impressions and the online presence and the first impressions on telephone calls or what somebody experiences when they walk in a restaurant. So comment, reply to this podcast, give it 5 stars, reviews, reach out to us on our social media platforms at Just Q and BBQ, our YouTube page, Just Q and Barbecue in Cincinnati, Ohio, or just email me directly, mattcuff@justqn.com. So first, website. Let's talk about websites. Let's talk about online presence. So when somebody goes to your website, your online presence, what's the first thing that they see? What's the first thing that they get from your business? So our business, when somebody Googles Just Q and Barbecue, depending on the day, Google rearranges pictures randomly. So whenever a guest, leave a picture, even if it's a well-intentioned picture, and it doesn't show our food in the most flattering light, I'll flag it and take it down. Or I'll, post a picture of my own, or professional pictures, and get those elevated to the front of the page. You want to have control of the messaging, right? You want to have control over what people see when they're first looking for your business. If somebody's, posting a picture and they think they're doing your business a service because it's really good to them, but they're taking it from, a low quality flip phone or something, and it's kind of grayed out, and, maybe they, shaking a box up or something, and, you got meat all over the place, and it's just not the impression that you want when somebody's looking at your business. It's not the most appealing perspective of the food that you want people to understand. You gotta regularly check what's going on online. And so you can always post professional pictures or your own pictures and get those elevated on both Yelp and Google. And so people will see that first and foremost when they click on it. The other thing is your website. It's a good idea to go on your website and also have other people go on your website and try to understand it from the user experience. Because if I'm creating a website, I see one thing. I see what my vision is for the website. I don't necessarily see what's actually going on. I don't actually see the user experience. And so one of my tactics is just to have my daughter, I got a teenage daughter, have my daughter go onto the website and try and use it, try and poke around and see exactly what's going on from the user's perspective. And she'll point out stuff almost all the time that need to be changed, need to be updated. It's kind of janky, really look bootleg to other people, or I might have a clear vision of what I want to come across from a picture or from something that I'm trying to say, but she'll be able to poke holes in it. So it's a good idea to just have somebody give your website a once over from time to time and just see what that user experience is. The pictures that you put on there are a big deal. The messaging that you're putting on there is a big deal. How easy is it for somebody to order online? Is it does your online ordering platform perform well on certain browsers but not other browsers? So if you're using Chrome, it works. If you're using Internet Explorer, Safari, and it's kind of so-so and iffy and works only some of the time, that's also a big deal, right? Because you're eliminating or you're creating a barrier for a certain group of people to be able to use your website. That's also a first impression of your business. That's a reflection of, well, it might not be, but people will take it as a reflection of what they're going to get in their overall experience. And so just being able to go back, check your website from a guest perspective is a big deal. Updating your hours, updating your telephone number, updating the information that's on your website. If somebody goes on your website and they see an event for a Super Bowl party that you're having from 2 years ago, in their mind, then everything on this website could be false. Everything on this website could possibly be a lie, because how much has changed in the last 2 years since they've updated their website? So it's a good idea to just make a habit out of, weekly going in and just updating your website. Maybe once a month, change the banner photo, update, little bits and pieces here, tidbits, maybe change a button for online ordering, change a color scheme here or there. Just give your website little tweaks so that people see that, this is an actively managed website. You can go in there and you can change the hours if you're having some special holiday hours. Like, that stuff matters. That stuff shows that, you're paying attention to the details as business owners, and subconsciously, I think, in a guest's mind, it translates to their meal. It translates to their overall experience. And so they care about the details, and so you should care about the details, even if they don't know they care about the details. Like, when something happens seamlessly, when something works and looks like it's supposed to, it makes it a smooth transition from somebody who's just poking around to converting them to an actual customer. And that's what you want. You want to remove any barriers and make that gateway as wide as possible for somebody to just, be curious, to being able to easily place an order online or easily make a phone call or easily find directions. And your website's the key to that. It's a gateway, right? And so you just want to make sure that thing is crisp, not only from your perspective, but from a user perspective. We have to be willing and have the ability to receive that feedback in a way that we understand that these people are trying to help us improve. So your website's a big deal. Online presence, a big deal. Google page, Yelp page, all that stuff. Just go in there and make sure we're managing it periodically and just looking at it from the guest perspective. The other gateway into our business, a first impression point, is a telephone, which is a really big deal because it's one of the hardest skills, I think, to train a team member or train anybody for that matter to answer the phone properly, understanding that the way you answer the phone, what's going on in the background, your tone, everything affects how that person on the other end of the line interprets your business. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to train. And even if you can train it in, the most ideal circumstances, like, your restaurant's closed and you conduct these trainings, or someone's answering the phone when it's slow, that changes considerably when you ratchet up, the volume, the speed, and the intensity inside the restaurant, and then someone's answering the phone on a Friday night or when there's a rush going on. Like that's a totally different scene. And so being able to portray and train your team members on telephone etiquette is really, really important. And it's worth taking the time to do so. So we had a really big issue with telephone etiquette because for a long time, we would get busy and we would either not answer the phone. We were taking telephone orders and those orders would be inaccurate because we were trying to rush people off the phone. Depending on who answered the phone, you got a different cadence. You got a different tone. You got a different vibe. And so it was so hard and we were so inconsistent at it that we decided to just eliminate the phone. So halfway through 2020, we just got rid of our phone because we weren't doing it well. So we decided to just take online orders and walk-ins because for me, I felt like that was better than, creating that negative first impression. So because I wasn't yet able to or didn't yet understand how to shore up that gateway, I just closed it down because, it's better for somebody to, come into the store and really have somewhat of an attitude because they weren't able to get through or they weren't able to get a phone number. But then we have the opportunity to, win that guest over with good old fashioned customer service than somebody calling, getting through and just getting bad customer service. Because once that happens, it's just too hard to turn that back around. And so we shut it down for a while, and then recently we got it back. I feel like we're doing it the right way. The jury's still out. We've only had a phone now for a couple weeks, but the system seems to be working. And so we approached it differently from a couple of ways. One thing that we said was, everybody, so we have a written out telephone answering standard operating procedure, so a whole process around it. It seems kind of, elementary. It seems kind of micromanagement. It seems a little silly, but, we got really involved with it, with the team, did some role play stuff. But the first thing that we say when we're answering the phone is, smile. Make sure you're answering the phone with a smile. If you can't smile, then don't answer the phone. Someone else needs to answer the phone because I feel like a guest, I truly believe that a guest can, hear a smile on the other end versus a frown. And so then we have etiquette stuff. We have exactly what to say when we want to put somebody on hold. We're waiting to hear a positive response before we're doing that. We have a standard greeting that everybody says the same time, the same way every time so that you're not getting the informal greetings. What's up, man? How you doing? Hey, bruh, what can I do for you? What can I get you? That type of stuff. You really don't want that. Like, we want to keep it as professional as possible. We never know who's on the other line, what's going on the other line. And so just having the words written out and taking that off the table is a big deal for us. We have standard responses to frequently asked questions already written out, rehearsed. One of the biggest things that we found with the pet peeve that everyone had with answering the phone was, taking phone orders and the trouble that would come from taking call-in orders. One, it would be difficult to take call-in orders and write them down, especially when we were busy, but, transferring them from hearing it on the phone, writing it on a piece of paper, taking that piece of paper, punching that into the POS system, there would be a lot of errors occurred just in that process. It's like the telephone game. A bunch of stuff would fall through the cracks. We would get people that would, go through a litany of questions and, a 5-minute ordering ordeal. And then they, we ask them, well, what time do you want to come and pick it up? And they're parked outside. So, that was really a pain point for us. And so we eliminated that pain point. And so we said, well, we'll get the phone back, but we'll only use our phone to answer questions and really address concerns that people have or have had with their experience. And so we set up our phone in a way that There's a greeting first that guests hear before they press a button to be connected to the restaurant. And that greeting just gives, general information on hours, where we're located, and the fact that we don't take telephone orders. You can place your order online or in the store, and then you're connected to the store, and then somebody answers the phone with our standard greeting. And that's been working. That's worked well. Like I said, so far the jury's still out, but we'll see. But just us understanding that the phone is a gateway is something that people have as a first impression of our business, and it's important to address and understand that that could be a barrier to people patronizing our business. The last gateway is good old-fashioned InStore. Somebody just comes into your restaurant, even before they come into your restaurant, they're outside on the curb. We are really, really big on the atmosphere that somebody deals with coming into our restaurant. And the atmosphere is everything. It's things that are dealing with all five senses. It's what they see, it's what they hear, it's what they smell when they come into the restaurant. And so we try and control all of those things, making sure that the trash outside of your restaurant is picked up and the sidewalk is swept. That used to be a really big thing. Back in the day, you'd always see all these old movies and pictures of store owners, early in the morning, first thing, sweeping off their stoop. And I think we've gotten away from that to a certain extent, but that's a big deal. Making sure your A-frame sign is out if you're doing that. Making sure your windows are clean, if your open signs are on and working. If you're playing music outside your store, making sure that it's consistent with your brand. Like all of that stuff, even before somebody comes into the store, is controlling the atmosphere. And then once somebody comes into your store, what type of music is playing when you get in there? What are the conversations that the team is having when somebody walks in? What are they doing? Are they on their cell phone and then kind of putting it down and then coming and address them? How long does it take for your team member to address a person coming in? And then when they address them, are they addressing them looking in a different direction, or are they making eye contact? All that stuff adds to or takes away from the experience that somebody's having coming into your business. And so it's important for us as business owners to address all of those things and control all of those things. It's not micromanaging. It's us understanding that that's a first impression for our business. And it's important to make sure that our team members are trained in all of those circumstances and that we're measuring and tracking the first impressions from before somebody comes into our business, not just afterwards. In our restaurant, we have what we call a 4-part greeting. Our 4-part greeting is a salutation, a welcome, transaction, and farewell. All of our team members are trained in that 4-part greeting. Our salutation is just that. A salutation is just acknowledgement of somebody coming into our restaurant. It's a genuine acknowledgement. It's not a far off in the distance, hey, or how you doing when we hear the chime go off. It's a genuine, make eye contact, let that person know that, we care that they just walked into our restaurant and they're just not a sound that just happened in the atmosphere. The other part is the welcome. The welcome usually happens at the point of sale, or if somebody's staring, just kind of taking a look at the menu. It's not just to get into, what can I get for you? It's a welcome into our restaurant. It's a what's your name? It's your first time here. You need some help with the menu. What brings you in? How'd you hear about us? It's a welcome, right? It's a take time to, give the impression or let that guest know that we care about them and not just the money that they're about to spend. And so we encourage genuine welcomes. Now, we don't always get it back, right? We'll say, a lot of times we'll say, how you doing? And somebody will just say, give me a blank, right? They'll just get right into it because sometimes that's all people want. That's fine too. But we still have to, do our part. We still have to try and welcome somebody into our business. And then the other part is the transaction. The transaction needs to be done in a way that, we're helping people to make decisions on what it is they want. We're not trying to mindlessly upsell people. We're not trying to demean people. who are not spending that much money. We're not trying to, talk down on people who might not know as much about barbecue or our food as we do. Like, the transaction, it has to be done in, a sensitive way so that that person feels cared for. And then the last part of our greeting, we say, is the farewell. Whenever somebody leaves our restaurant, if they're having a 3-hour meeting in the restaurant, whenever they leave, making sure that we acknowledge the fact that they left, and that it's just not okay that they just walk out the restaurant and nobody says anything. We never cared that they were there. We care about the fact they just came into our business, and that's a totally different experience. That's all I have for today. Just wanted to talk about first impressions. Remember, if you get something from this podcast, rate it 5 stars, helps out a lot. Share it with somebody who you think it could be helpful to. As always, like I said, if you have any comments, feel free to put those on our YouTube page, our social media channels, or email me directly at mattcuff@justcuban.com. I love spending time with you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time. Peace.